By my clock, it is that hour, so we'll go ahead and call the Governmental Affairs meeting to order. Representative Bernal, would you open us in a word of prayer, please, ma'am?
Yes. Dear God, thank you for bringing us here today safely, and we pray that the work that we do here today will be your will and not our will. Thank you. Amen.
Thank you very much. We have two pieces of legislation, a Senate bill and a Senate resolution on the agenda today. I do want to take a minute to thank everybody for their time. A lot of it yesterday during the hearings that went on quite some time, but I think were very informative. Senator Ligon, Senate Bill 504. Floor is yours, sir.
Chairman, members of the committee. Senate Bill 504 simply places a non-binding referendum on the November election for the voters to decide whether or not the police power should be transferred from the Glenn County Police Department to the Sheriff's Department. And I can give you just a little bit of background of why this bill, and there's actually another bill coming after this, is needed. There had been some issues within our police department and some misconduct dealing with some drug investigation department and how things were being handled there. There was also some question of whether or not the investigations into that conduct was proper, and some other events. Eventually it led to the dismissal of around 100 criminal cases, which is unfortunate. Most of them were drug-related cases. Then as a result of those issues and others, in September of last year, the Glenn County Grand Jury looked into all of this, and they came out with a recommendation that they found misconduct, that the culture within the department needed to be addressed, that the responsibilities was with the leadership, and they also concluded in their recommendation that the question of whether or not the police department should be transferred to the sheriff should be placed to the voters. And they called in Representative Hogan and I and presented their recommendations to us. I can tell you that I've never met a more serious, qualified cross-representation of a community in my life. And they took it very seriously. They took their oath of office as members of a grand jury very seriously. And I think that Representative Hogan and I take it very seriously. Well, we do take it very seriously. I know that we do. And so that is why we have brought this bill and are asking for its passage. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chairman Ligon. And we're operating a little bit differently based on COVID. If there is some testimony or anybody is here to speak, they may. We're not running subs during these last couple of weeks, so I do have some questions. Representative Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here and bringing this bill. It will take time, I understand, to do that. Is the Sheriff's Department strong enough to take over? Has it been infiltrated with any folks that have difficulties? And will they be able to step up and cover?
Yes, they will be able to deal with this.
Okay.
And in fact, with the events that we've had with the Arbery case,
Yes.
it has been the Sheriff's Office that has really taken the lead on providing all of the security, all of the around the courthouse and other areas, and it has been handled well in that regard. And this is not the first time that there's been a transfer of power of the police authority from a county police department to a sheriff. It occurred in Macon, I understand, about 4 years ago, and I'm told that transition has worked fairly well and is working, and certainly the sheriff's office would have the support and resources of the Sheriff's Association. You know, and the thought in all this is that the sheriff is going to be more responsive to some of these issues that have arisen because he is directly elected by the population. And I can tell you that those in Glenn County electorate, we have received a lot of support for this, and actually the next bill as well, which would make it binding. So.
Thank you.
Chairman Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, appreciate you bringing this bill. I support it fully. As you know very well, because you testified before my committee, the Judiciary Committee. The Judiciary Committee passed a bill to also make this vote possible, which was unanimous, Democrat and Republican all supporting it. I think part of that was because of the fact that we allow in this state under current law for citizens to decide if they want to move from a sheriff's department that does the policing to a police department. This will simply allow the people to decide if they want to keep a police department or move back to a sheriff's department. Isn't that true?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, yes, sir, it is. I need to clarify one point for you. This is actually we initially filed, this bill is for a non-binding referendum. There is another bill coming behind this, which I hope that you will hear maybe today or tomorrow, that would make it binding, that would give the voters that additional choice. And that bill is the bill that went with your bill through judiciary.
I too have seen the transition in one of my counties in my area that went from not exactly the same circumstances but from a police department that covered a large area to the sheriff, and it was able to be handled very well. So I support this, and I appreciate you bringing it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
See, Representative Burnell, is that you?
Good morning.
Okay.
Yes. Good morning, and thank you for bringing this bill. My only concern is that if you go from a police department to just a sheriff's department, and I realize that the sheriff is elected, are you going to have enough individuals to patrol and answer all those calls? Because the sheriff already has a specific duty, and then the police have a duty. And will people really be able to go on those calls, and they'll be answered in the same amount of time as if you had a police department?
Yes.
Had both of them,
I
I'll
believe
say.
that it will, and we have examples of how this has occurred in the past. For example, in the Macon area and in Chairman Fleming's area, I know in the Macon area, that's a very large area, much larger than Glenn County in terms of population. And so it works smoothly. You know, there are officers that have already transitioned from the police department to the sheriff's department. And so I think that the rank and file officers in the police department, most of them are qualified and would be able to make that transition. This is really more in terms of a leadership question, because leadership sets culture within a department. And so I think it would work well.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask another question? Okay, I live in Clayton County, and so, Jeff Turner is our chairman. He was the police chief. You don't think that maybe if you got another police chief, that would change the culture?
Well, let me just say this. This has been going on for some time. The current police chief is under indictment. He is still on the payroll. We have an interim chief that's there. He's a fine man. But there's no visible movement of strong, decisive action by the commission to address this concern. And I think that the public is looking for something bold and concrete so that we can see that efforts are being made to address these concerns. And so that is the issue.
Just one more question. If the sheriff becomes the only person, that's a lot of power to give to one person. And what happens, because he is voted in, if there is, things don't go well there, how will you, are you all going to have something
sure.
set up to address that?
Yeah, well, there are already things that are set up. If there is misconduct, then the sheriff is accountable as well. He can be removed, he can be prosecuted. If it doesn't rise to that level, he can be voted out of office. And I can tell you that I cannot imagine anyone running on a platform of the way some things have been handled in our area. I don't think it's not a winning platform, and I think that the public would make a distinct decision to make a change.
Thank you.
Representative Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator, for bringing this bill. There's nothing that would prohibit any of these police officers from applying to the Sheriff's Department. And it's quite possible that some of them, or a good many of them, would just transition over to that department.
Yes, sir, you're exactly right.
Yeah. I live very close to Macon, and I know the sheriff there very well personally, and he has done a good job, and he did absorb a lot of the Macon PD officers.
Right.
So, yeah, thank you for clarifying that. Thank you,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman.
Representative Taylor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think as this discussion has gone on, I want to make sure people understand you're not doing away with the police chiefs in some of the communities. Will Brunswick still have a police chief and any other small communities?
The city of Brunswick would not be addressed by this.
Okay. I kind of wonder, why would a county have both a police and a sheriff? It's like funding two law enforcements, and what are the distinct differences between the two?
Well, first of all, there are only, I believe, 14 counties that have both a police department and a sheriff's department in the state. And in those instances, the sheriff is usually responsible for courthouse security, service of warrants and civil lawsuits and other legal papers. In the jail, that's right, and security in the jail. And the police department is more in charge of law enforcement and traffic and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Gullett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, thank you for being here. I've never been a fan of county police departments. I think they're really a grab from commissioners, usually looking to take power away from sheriffs. Sheriffs are elected constitutionally here in each county in order to not just most of the time do the jail. They always that is their responsibility, is the jail and security of the courthouse. And most of the time, if they don't have a county police department, they patrol the roads as well. So and answer calls. I'm from Paulding County. We have about 175,000 people. Only have a sheriff. I think most large counties are the ones that end up having the police departments. And it's just so that the commissioners feel like they get their power grabs in there. But I fully support this bill. I fully support, I think, getting rid of all county police departments. That's really the role of the sheriff, and thank you for bringing it.
Thank you.
Representative Williamson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you again, Senator, for bringing this bill. Sort of following up on Representative Bernal's comments about, how efficient this could be. You actually answered one of my questions, how many counties are affected by this. So what we're saying is 145 counties are their policing duties are handled by the Sheriff's Department. It's been my lifelong experience in Walton County. But what I have also observed is both Democratic sheriffs and Republican sheriffs overwhelmingly do the right thing and conduct the law enforcement duties in their counties in a proper and appropriate manner. And I want to remind members of the committee that Governor Deal actually disciplined several. I believe he removed one sheriff, and he definitely disciplined several sheriffs to temporarily suspended them from duties and got them back on track. Let me put it that way. So thank you for bringing this measure.
Yes, sir.
Representative Shannon?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator, thank you for bringing the bill. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to say that systems work best when accountability is present. I've had experience in DeKalb County dealing with issues of police accountability, and I will say that the conversation is certainly different when you're dealing with somebody who is elected by the people. So thank you.
That's right.
See any more questions? Going to recognize Representative Williams for the motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by stating aye. Opposed, like sign.
No.
Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank
Your
you,
bill
Mr.
passes.
Chairman.
Do you have, I can guess your sponsor, but I better ask.
I think it's going to be Representative Hogan.
Okay.
So he is well acquainted with the need for this.
Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is Senate Resolution 793. Senator Brandon Beach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I bring before you a resolution to create a joint study committee on financing of infrastructure, private financing. And I can tell you that some of these study committees that we've done, like the Joint Freight and Logistics Study Committee's really been very, very helpful in letting us plan for freight and logistics, which we just extended. Chairman Tanner and I worked on that. This would do the same and look at how we could, build infrastructure with private financing. Coming out of this COVID-19, we're going to have to look at different avenues to build infrastructure, and I think this is going to be a committee that can come up with some innovative financing and innovative ideas. So that's what this is about, and we will hopefully get our work done. We will get our work done by December 1st, 2020. Any questions?
I was going to check real quick, Senator, if there's anybody here to speak on the bill. Is anybody, no one signed up to speak? Are there any?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Seth Milliken with the Georgia Transportation Alliance and the Georgia Chamber. We're fully in support of this effort. I appreciate the Senator bringing that.
Ashley Jenkins with ACDC Georgia, we're in full support.
All right, let's see. We do have a question here. Representative Williams.
I just want to make a motion to approve at the proper time.
I don't see any other lights blinking here, so the proper time would be appropriate now. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by stating aye. Those opposed, like sign. All right, measure passes. Thank you, Senator. Do you have a sponsor?
I'd like to ask Representative Williamson if you would carry this. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any further business before the committee today? Hearing none, we stand adjourned. Thank you so much.